All right, got a quick video topic for you guys talking about minimum effective dose in training. So your training volume, frequency, and intensity. These are the variables that make up your minimum effective dose. As far as training goes, you'll hear a lot of times people say, hey, we want to get the most out of the least work, possible, right? So we do the minimum and still make progress. And if you're able to do that for a long period of time, this is the most efficient way to do it, right? We can continue to add a little bit here and there, here and there, here and there, and we still have lots of room to play with if we're smart like that. And we think of training in a long period of time, and we start down here. We have room to go all the way up here. Sounds pretty logical, makes sense, and I think this is horrible. I think this is the worst idea of training that you can have, is thinking so far ahead like this. And they're not wrong, right? This is logical, it makes sense. It sounds great on paper, and then into practice, it isn't as solid as doing more, right? So minimum effective dose, and what I would recommend is the sustainable effective dose. Something that is above that range. So minimum effective dose is here, sustainable is up here, all the way down to minimum, right? And then too high, or the overdose area, is way up here. The first thing you should think about is training stimulus. All the different variables are dynamic. So at times, you may not need the same frequency or the same volume or intensity to make progress. These can all change. That's 100% true. There are times where you're not training. There are times where you take time off after a meet. There are times where you reduce frequency, you reduce your volume, you reduce your intensity. And your strength is never the same 365 days a year, every single day of the year. You are never at your peak strength. It's only for specific times. So your strength is fluctuating like this. But over 10 years, right, it should look up like this. It should trend up. That's normal. So when you think of what's the minimum effective dose, all of these things can change, and planning for the minimum is a good way to set you up to spin your wheels for a long time. So, for all the people that are watching the video, think of your normal training that you're doing, or you were doing before the COVID-19 quarantine. All the work that you're doing, and you may have made great progress, or you may have not have made great progress. Chances are, in your head, what you thought the minimum that you need to do to make progress, you're doing more than that already. You probably were. And you still may have not made progress. You may have plateaued for a little bit on work or volume or intensity, frequency that you thought was probably more than what was the bare minimum necessary. This is an important thing to think about, because when you're thinking of yourself with these variables for the long period of time, you do not want to get into this spinning your wheels type routine where you're just trying to get by with a minimum, and you stretch out what should have taken a year of progress to get, or a year's worth of time to make this amount of progress. It took 2 years. Yeah, you made progress. Yeah, you were steady about it, but you wasted time. You wasted putting in some effort for a longer period of time versus putting a lot of effort in for a shorter amount of time. As of now, is still the better option, because you have no idea what's going to happen in a year from now, or 2 years, or the long-term thinking for powerlifting actually is not a good way of thinking about it. Which sounds wrong to say, sounds wrong, but I don't believe it is. So you want to be thinking about things in the now for powerlifting, because you have no idea what's going to happen. And again, with the minimum effective dose, what is the minimum is not usually your real minimum. You're going to need a little bit more. So plan for more and do all the steps necessary, and then still probably do a little bit more that's in the sustainable range, right? For someone that's normal, that has a lot of time to do powerlifting, because if you value this and you really want to be good at powerlifting, it's going to put a lot of time on you. That's just how it goes. You definitely have to be doing more than 2 times a week squats, you have to be doing more than 1 time a week frequency on everything. You're going to have to do more than twice a week bench, probably, if you want to be a really great bench presser in drug-free, raw powerlifting. You're going to be benching more than twice a week. You're probably going to be deadlifting more than 1 time a week. All these things can change, and you can reduce things. But generally, if you're an intermediate lifter, you should be squatting twice a week. You should be benching at least 2 times a week, maybe 3 as a minimum. And then 1 time a week minimum on deadlift, no matter what, probably 2. But the thinking of bragging or trying to get away with as little work as possible, yeah, and you're making a little bit of progress, but how much would you have made if you had done a little bit more that was still in the sustainable range and still have been doing that for a longer period of time? I guarantee you would have made more progress. So I don't like hearing about people bragging about how little work they were doing, because in reality, you're just shortchanging yourself. As long as it's something that you can stay healthy with and it's sustainable for you in your life, in your day in, day in out and of training, then you're good. You shouldn't be worried about trying to get the least amount of work done. So there's my little talk. What's sustainable as an effective dose, and what's the minimum effective dose. And even again, the minimum is probably higher than what you think. And if you want to do this for a long time, you want to be an elite level lifter, you are not going to be thinking about what is the minimum amount of work I can be doing. You want to be thinking, what's the most that I can do, that I can still work with, that can feel great and still be able to add more. That's what you want to be doing, because that's what's going to give you significant progress. So some people may disagree with what I have to say, and that's completely fine, and I'm completely okay with that. That's why I make these videos, or I want to make these videos, is to make sure that I'm getting my point of view across, and I know it's probably different than what a lot of people think. So if you like it, if you want to support me, like the video, subscribe, and keep checking the next ones out. But yeah, that's it. I think that's all I have for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.